Hey, Bunker Labs, thank you so much for joining us today for another All-In Campaign interview. My name is Jada Nickham, and I'm the Northeast Regional Experience Director. And today we're actually going to have our Atlantic Regional Executive Director, Dean Bunchu, introduce our speaker for today. And they're going to be navigating a conversation that is talking about what local entrepreneurs and businesses are going through this time. And so, Dean, take it away.
Yeah, thanks, Jada. Happy to be here today. As Jada mentioned, my name is Dean Bunchu, and I'm the Atlantic Regional Executive Director. It's great to be here today with my good friend, Jon Rennie. Jon, I'm going to let him introduce himself here in a second, but I met Jon a couple years ago. He's one of the entrepreneurs who I really look up to in our community. I think he does a lot to really set the example. He has been well before this, but like a lot of entrepreneurs and veteran entrepreneurs in particular, he's really stepped up his game here during the COVID crisis. So I want to talk to him today and give him the chance to talk a little bit about how first he kind of got into entrepreneurship, how he's kind of handling this crisis, and some of the tips he has for you to kind of weather the storm and help your business continue to get through this and ultimately come on the back end and hopefully not only survive but thrive. So Jon, I'll let you introduce yourself really quick, and then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of this talk.
Okay, great. Thanks, Dean. My name is Jon Rennie, and I am the founder and CEO of a company called Peak Demand. We're a manufacturing company based in Wilson, North Carolina, and we produce products for electric utilities around the country and around the world.
Awesome. Jon, what are some of the things that, and I think your perspective is awesome because just so people know, Jon is a former naval officer, and he recently has a book, and I know he's not here to sell books or anything like that, but I think it's important to note that he has a book called I Have the Watch. And if you haven't had a chance to take a look at it, I think the lessons that you would glean out of it are really relevant to today's crisis. And as part of what he's doing with that book, a lot of he's donating the profits back to veteran nonprofits, which I think is fantastic. And then he's also doing some podcasts with leaders. He has a podcast series. You can find it on LinkedIn, particularly under his profile, called Deep Leadership. But some of the leaders that he's talking to are other entrepreneurs and just leaders in general and what they're doing to survive this. So with that being said, Jon, I wanted to kind of ask you, like, what are some of the lessons that maybe you have that entrepreneurs should keep doing, and what have you picked up from some of these other people you're talking to?
Yeah, so this is really important. Anytime that we move into a position of crisis like we're in right now, this is when leadership becomes really important. So I think everybody in our organization is looking to us for answers. They're looking for us for guidance. We have to be that lighthouse in a storm, right? We have to provide a kind of the way to go. And a lot of times that leaders, we don't know, right? We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next week, or when are we going to get back to business? When are we going to open up? We don't know the answers to these questions. But I think as leaders, we have to, really communicate every day, make sure we're having face-to-face communication with our people every day. And we have to be, we have to maintain calm. We have to be calm, but we also have to be very transparent and open and authentic with our communication. So we can't hide the fact that we're feeling a little nervous, and we can just say, and we can just say, well, I don't know right now, but here's what we're going to do if that happens. So really being authentic and making sure we're doing a lot of face-to-face communications right now.
Awesome. And how about your business in particular? Is there anything that you're doing above and beyond? I mean, have you guys kind of adapted, adjusted, pivoted, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, we've had to. Now we're a manufacturing plant providing a critical resource to electric utilities. So we're considered essential business. So we're actually up and running. So we've had to create, social distancing plan within the factory. That we have cleanup after every shift, and we're wiping down all of anything that anyone touches, doorknobs, equipment, what have you, wiping that all down with Lysol. And then we're also providing masks and gloves to our employees for those that want to use them. And so we've adapted to that. But the other thing we've done is we spent a lot of time with employees and making sure they have what they need at home. So
Right.
we realized that a lot of employees are kind of going through some big changes. Their kids are at home right now. Their spouses might be working from home. So we've allowed flexible hours as so employees can get themselves set up and whatever they need to do at home. The other thing, just simple things, is we've been able to purchase commercial toilet paper and hand soap and hand sanitizer. We've been giving that to employees because I know they've had a hard time finding those. But we just let them take what they want so that they can have it, So we've been trying to, run our business, but also make sure our employees have what they need to take care of what's happening at home as well. So we're trying to take care of both the mission of our company, but also the people in our company.
And just advice in general, I mean, there's a lot of things that you just mentioned that you had to start doing, but is there some things that, in this current environment that you've had to stop doing? And some of the things maybe you're even picking up from some of the other leaders. I know there's a lot of things that I had to stop doing too. So I'm trying to figure out what you keep pressing forward on and what's changed that's no longer relevant as a business owner, right? Or at least for now.
So I used to travel the country and train our customers on the technical sides of our products, and so we're not traveling at all. So we're all sort of hunkered down in our factory building products. But the one thing we did was we started doing online training webinars for our customers, and what we found is that there was a huge amount of demand for that technical training, and with all these physical training programs being put, halting because of the crisis, people were hungry for that. So we actually switched a lot of our technical training over to webinars, and there's been, I can't count how many new customers we've gained because we've gone into this sort of virtual training program with what we've been doing for utilities. So I think we've stopped traveling. We've stopped, meeting people. It's hard for me because seems like I'm always on the road doing training and traveling and meeting with customers. So we've hunkered down, but we've done a lot more virtually, like most people. But the webinars have been a huge success with our business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know we've learned that with Bunker Labs too. I've kind of pointed out to people within the organization. I think the organization's quickly figuring out online was a huge weakness of ours. I mean, there's a silver lining in everything, and you kind of got to dig out and figure out what those silver linings are. But being able to expand our reach, because you've been out to Bunker Labs, most everything we did was physical in terms of our events. So, I mean, this is a perfect example of expanding our reach, and Liz has been super instrumental in that. So one of the things too, I think just from the leadership perspective, do you have any advice for leaders? Once again, if you want to kind of highlight some of the key advice that you give just as far as general leadership for folks who are having to kind of lead organizations and people throughout this crisis. So there are things that leaders should really focus in on or start doing.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we're leaders. We're naturally, especially veteran leaders. We're focused on action, right? We're used to jumping on things. Things change. We attack. I think leaders need to pause a little bit. So we need to stop, slow down a little bit, and assess the whole situation. What's happening how is this going to affect my business, my people, my industry, and take that time to really look at what's going on and kind of take a deep breath, right? And make sure we can assess what's going on. And then I think we all need to pivot. So we pivot a little bit. So we have to make sure we're maintaining true to our vision and our mission of our companies, but let's take a little pivot to be able to take care of our customers or support our customers in a way that we maybe never have thought of before or have done before. So I think each company that I've seen that are really doing well during this time is they've made a slight pivot to what they're doing. I just interviewed the CEO of Murphy's Naturals, Philip Freeman, and his organization. They make bug repellent, all natural bug repellent, and they realized fairly quickly on that they had, the resources, equipment, and the personnel to be able to make hand sanitizers. So they switched their production. They learned how to make it. They went through all the approvals, and then they started making hand sanitizers. And it ended up they got a contract with the U.S. Navy to supply hand sanitizers to the U.S. Navy, which, as you know, is in the headlines right now with all of the problems on ships. So my point is that, and the good news is that he's staying true to his vision of producing all natural products, and his his hand sanitizer is all natural. It fits within his vision. So it was a pivot, but it stuck with his vision and his mission. So I think, pivoting your business and staying true to your vision is really important right now.
Awesome. I think on a macro level, the one thing I wanted to ask you is, looking back at your career, in particular, your military career, like how has that, what are some of the things that as a veteran in general right now, that you've used to kind of, continue to get you through this and continue to guide the organization?
Yeah. So, I hire a lot of veterans because I believe that they have this one trait, which I think is really important. And that is that we're persistent. So we've faced a lot of difficulties in our careers and in every veteran, regardless of the time they serve, have faced major challenges. And so I think, at least for me, personally, I kind of look at this and say, I've seen worse. I've done worse.
Right.
So I think, I feel like we've got this. I've got this. Let's move forward. So I think it helps us to really maintain calm and really, put kind of fear in the back mirror, put it behind us, and focus on, okay, this is the new reality. How am I going to operate in the new reality? So, some people, a lot of, I'm a former submarine officer, and a lot of the submarine veteran community is laughing, like, quarantine, shoot, we did that for 80 days at a time. It was no big deal. So I think we've been through some tough stuff. So I think it makes us a little more resilient to what's happening around us. So I think we have a responsibility to help others, because I think we do have that the persistence and resilient nature based on our experience. So that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, that's awesome. And the resiliency thing is something that's come up for me. It's something that I picked up on a lot. I'm talking to a lot of veteran entrepreneurs, and you're right. When you talk about the whole quarantine thing, I spent a year in Iraq, and every time I think the day is bad, all I do is I'm like, hey, sunny out, is anyone shooting at me today? No. And I know it's sometimes hard for other people to appreciate that, but I think anyone, whether a veteran or not, has been through adversity. So sometimes I think when you talk about just taking a deep breath and thinking about where we at now, I can almost guarantee that most of us have been through worse or had times that are worse. Is there anything else, Jake? I know I mentioned your book, but is there any other resources that you kind of want to share, whether it's that or some of the other tips, tricks that you kind of have in your back pocket that you think would be helpful to other veterans and military spouses in the community right now?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great resources out there. I think podcasts are great to be able to just continue to listen in, and I listen to a lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast, but a lot of the podcast hosts are shifting over, talking about resources and tips, and so there's a lot of great podcasts out there that can really help you kind of navigate that. And what are other people doing right now? So I would really encourage that. The other thing I would say is, and I'm sure you're touching on this with other people you're interviewing, is that we need to take care of ourselves as leaders. So, I'm really, been talking to a lot of people about making sure you get enough sleep, and that you got, you stick to your routines as much as possible, that you exercise in some way, shape, or form. I know gyms are closed, but how do you continue to stay in shape and eat right and avoid too much alcohol and caffeine and comfort foods? And so I think I've been trying to encourage people to just stay healthy, stay with a routine, even though it's hard. But because I think we need to be there for others, leaders need to be there. We got to put our masks on first so we can help other people. So, continue to learn, continue to find these resources. There's plenty of them out there, but also take care of yourself during this time.
No, I think both that's good advice. I was never really a podcast person, but now that I'm inside the majority of the time, I've actually really dug into a lot of these podcasts. You're absolutely right. There's some good ones out there. And yeah, we know from the military, once again, like strong mind, body, spirit, that goes a long way. So I think we're right around our time. So yeah, so it's good seeing you again, John. I really appreciate having you and appreciate all that you're doing. And appreciate your time this afternoon, the advice you share with the community.
I'm glad to help. And just keep pressing on, everybody. Keep calm and carry on, right?
Right.
There you go. Great advice and great discussion. Thank you again to Dean for leading the discussion. And for those who are looking for other resources as well, our All In campaign is still running, and check out our website and Instagram and Facebook communities that have more great information for you all to stay all in and keep pushing forward. Thank you again, and take care, everyone.